Hello, welcome to the San Francisco School of Copywriting Fundamentals module. Lots to cover. First, I want to address a question that I get asked a lot. You may be asking yourself, and that is, can anyone do this? Can anyone become a copywriter and master the skills it takes to do a good job, either for your own business or for a client as a freelancer, or even as an employed copywriter? And no, wait, I didn't mean to say that if you're a freelancer, you're not employed. I meant working for someone else. You can be a freelancer and make a great income. Let me just state that boldly right here. But here's my belief. Yes, anyone can master this skill. Take some time, some diligence, some patience with yourself, some practice, and being realistic. Listen, nobody picks up a golf club the first time, goes out and expects to be a pro in a week or in a year. It takes a lifetime to become good. It doesn't take a lifetime to become good at copywriting, but it takes some practice, some patience, and some persistence, and particularly patience with yourself. And that's hard for all of us. We get in there and we want to be really good, and we want to do a good job. And you can do a good job if you apply what you learn here, and you'll improve. And to get great, you have to first be good, and you have to be good and practice, and then you can become great and even achieve mastery. And so what will happen for you is if you get in the game and you practice and you get good at it, you'll look back a year from now or 2 years from now and you'll be astonished at how much you've grown. It's not that the copy you write today won't be good, but you'll see things you do differently. Down the road, looking back, you'll see things you do differently, ways that you've improved, just all kinds of things. It's just remarkable, and you can do this. So I just want you to know that right out the gate. Very good to get practice. A good way to get practice, if you own your own business, you've got plenty to write. If you're writing for clients, or even if you're looking to build up a portfolio, blog. Blogging is a great way just to get into the discipline. The common wisdom is you should post 3 or 4 pieces to your blog every week. And so writing 3 or 4 pieces a week is really good focus and discipline at first. And the best way to do that is just come up with a list of topics, whatever you're going to blog about. Build yourself a little bit of an editorial calendar, and get in the habit of writing 500-word pieces, about a page. You can make them 600, 700 words, but get in the habit. You can write shorter ones too, obviously. If you can get in the habit of cranking out 500 words 3-4 times a week, you'll sharpen your skills pretty quick. You'd be surprised. The other thing is be open to critique. Talk to people. Let people look at your work. Get a sense of what they see, what they don't see. Does it move them? Does it not move them? Talk to other copywriters. It's really, really helpful. And it's hard. It's hard for all of us. We get very attached to our work, and particularly when there's creativity involved, we can be particularly vulnerable and sensitive. But it's important to have other people take a look. You can't do this in a vacuum. At least you shouldn't, because you'll improve much more quickly if you stay open and let other people look. And finally, a really good way, this is going to sound odd and maybe even a little painstaking, but a really good way to improve your copy is find something you like that somebody else has written and write it out by hand. Literally rewrite the document. And what will happen is you'll kind of lock it into your thinking muscle memory of how these sentences flow, how they're constructed, how the ideas move forward from one to the other, the economy of language, or lack thereof, but if it's a good piece, it's probably the economy of language. How does it move through start to finish? Laying out the premise, supporting the premise, moving people to decision, making an offer, all of these things. You'll have written it. You won't have created it, but you will have written it. And it really, it'll give you some good ideas. You may be very surprised about that. So let's talk about writing some actual copy. And I like to quote, you'll hear me again and again, I like to quote Zig Ziglar. That's a little cliche and corny, but like most cliches, it's got a lot of truth to it. And he says, everyone is dialed into WIIFM. What's in it for me? We can only see things through our own filter, through our own lens, right? We can't get into someone else's head. Try though we may, and useful as that may be at times. But we can come close to approximating it if we make the effort when writing copy. But everything that you do should always be focused on the prospect. And you want to get a clear picture of that person in your mind. So you kind of build a profile of who this person is and what they look like. And if you can actually picture someone you know or you've met that fills the boots, all the better, because you can be writing to that one person, and it really helps to be thinking of somebody that you're writing to, that one person, because you'll be more clear, you'll be more precise, your copy will actually be crisper. And so before you're writing, whether you're writing for a client or your own business, you want to get clear in your mind, who is this person? What are their habits? Where do they go? Where do they travel? What restaurants do they eat in? Do they work? Are they retired? Age, how old are they? And sometimes you're writing to a specific age demographic, and sometimes you're not. Sometimes, your product is for everybody. But if you're writing to, say, someone in their early 20s, their concerns are going to be different than a senior citizen. And what might some of those be? Somebody in their early 20s is probably worrying about their future. They're thinking about the rest of their life. What are they going to do? Who are they going to do it with? Who are they going to be? How are they going to show up? What's their life going to be like? And they're concerned about things that help them move, along that trajectory. Senior citizens are more worried about their health, perhaps, their independence. Can they live alone? If they're living alone, will they be able to continue living alone? When they can't, what will happen then? What products or services will help keep them safe and make them feel protected? Real different. So you want to know, what are any of these things as relates to an age demographic? What are their preferences? What do they read? Where do they go? What movies do they watch? What kind of homes and neighborhoods do they live in? Gender is sometimes an issue, sometimes not. Sometimes you're writing to both men and women. Sometimes it's a product just for men or just for women. And sometimes a product appeals to men and women for a different reason. Think of anything, clothing, why men and women buy clothing. We do a whole funny riff on that, but we're not here for stand-up comedy. But, automotive, think about cars. Men and women might buy cars for the same reason, although research shows that they don't. But there's crossover always. And so you think of, who might buy a muscle car versus who might buy a Mini Cooper or a BMW. And things come to your mind. You picture a different demographic, associated with the product. So there are all these things that we already think or that we know. Some of them are assumptions. Some of them are stereotypes. But like cliches, stereotypes often have some basis in reality, some truth to them, whether we like that or not. So think of some of these things that and lifestyle, which ties into all of these things. What people do, how they live, what they want, what's important to them. The better a picture that you have, the better you can write to them. So imagine writing to someone you really know. Think of that person that you know really well and writing to them. And what would that be like as opposed to writing to some random target market? So you're trying to create the picture of your target market as if they are someone that you really know. So you can kind of get into their head, get into their space, and really speak to them. So big questions. In that space, once you know who that person is, what do they long for? What's missing from their life, or what do they perceive as missing? What do they really want? What are they afraid of? And we know that people do or take action for two reasons. We're motivated as human beings by two things, either to gain pleasure or to avoid pain. And we are far more motivated to do things that help us avoid pain. As much as we may not like to believe that, that's just a fact of human nature that you're going to use in your copy. Your job isn't to terrify people. Your job isn't to manipulate people, but your job is to connect into the things people are really feeling, or that they are already feeling, and to provide solutions. But we don't look for solutions unless the thing is bothering us right then. And so your job is to sort of scratch that itch a little bit. Make it itchy so that they want to solve the problem. And that's what your copy will do. So what keeps people awake at night? What are they worried about? Those are the things that are really present and pressing on people's minds. And you know how that is. You don't even think you have anything on your mind. You put your head on the pillow and the wheels start turning, and you start thinking of all the things that you've buried in there, for the day, the week, the month, whatever, all your worries, all your concerns. That's what you want to know. You really want to know what's on that prospect's mind when when their head hits the pillow at night, and that's what you want to speak to. So you're picturing that one person in your mind's eye, and you're writing to that person. So throughout your whole campaign, you're thinking about them, you're writing to them. And here's a piece that's really important. I've got this in capital letters here. Always one person. And the reason for that is this is one of the hardest things for people to do and to do consistently. And that is to remember that you are writing to one person. Never writing in the plural. Like I could say, for example, some of you watching this may already have this mastered, and it may already be a tool in your kit. No, it's not some of you. You are watching this. You may already know how to do this. You may already be familiar with this. Even if a few people are sitting around watching this video, which is unlikely, I'm still talking to you. And I'm talking to you and to you and to you and to you. Each one of us is taking in through the filter of me or you. And so the more you make it personal and the more you use the word you, which is really important throughout your copy, to keep talking to me as you, the more you do that, the more it draws me in, the more I know that you're talking to me, and the more that you understand all of these things about me, the more I feel like you're really speaking to me. And you've had this experience. You read something and you go, they get it, they get me, that's me, I need this. They're right, that's absolutely true. And you've had the opposite where you go, who are they kidding? I've got some examples of that when we get to the copy examples, and for me it mostly comes when I've been targeted as a demographic that I am not, like a male hunter, for example, in a promotion that I got recently, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know why I'm on this list, because they probably bought my name from a list, and this makes absolutely no sense to me, because I don't even know what they're talking about. So, they wasted their money there, but who knows, what other money are they wasting, and what is their message, and how did it get into the wrong hands? Just interesting when that happens. You'll start to pay attention to, the mail that you get and who's writing it and who's buying the list. Okay. So you're going to start your copy with your headline or lead. Now the headline and the lead are different. The headline is literally the headline, the first thing that people read, whether it's in a sales letter, on a web page, wherever it is in your ad. The lead, and sometimes the lead and the headline are referred, you'll hear them used interchangeably. The lead is the first part of the body copy. It's the headline draws them in, and then the lead tells them that they're in the right place. So again, we're talking to, say, the 20-year-old who's worried about their future. Your headline is going to draw them in with something that makes them think, oh yeah, I have to pay attention. Will you be unemployed the rest of your life? Will you ever get a job out of college? Oh, I'm worried about that. And then we go in and say, give them a lead in that says, that makes them go, oh, I need to read this. I want to know about this. This is exactly what's on my mind. So you use your lead to keep them in. And if they don't get in and stay in through your headline and your lead, you've lost them. So they're the really critical first pieces of your writing. So you're going to write several, probably. And you don't edit. This is one of the key things that's really hard for people to do, but it's critically important. Don't edit as you write. You may be really tempted, and it may be something that you can do later on. Try very hard to avoid doing that when you're first getting started. Particularly if you're brand new or relatively new. A technique that someone told me about years ago that I found was really handy when I was writing things that were difficult for me, was to turn off your monitor. If you're writing on a computer, and most of us are, turn off your monitor. Just make it black so you can't see what you're writing, and then you can't edit. And it really helps the creative process. You'll be surprised. I mean, the other thing is to write longhand, because you won't bother to edit, but most people aren't going to do that. So turn off your monitor, and you'll kind of force yourself into that discipline. And here's the thing. If you can't come up with the lead, start on the body. Sometimes the hardest thing is getting started. So I'm going to digress here for a second, because it can be hard to get started on a project, and it can be overwhelming, whether it's your own business project or you're writing for a client. When you're in the throes of putting the project together, it's a very creative process, and you see it in your mind's eye, and you know what you want to accomplish. But when you then decide you're going to take on the project, again, whether it's your own or it's a client's, it can be overwhelming at first. And the steepest curve is in the beginning. So what I want to encourage you to do is to know that happens regularly, even sometimes when you're seasoned. And this is when you need to think. You need to really sit down and study the material. Don't be so anxious to write and get into the writing. I've made this mistake before. You can't short circuit the research, the time that it takes to really figure out what it is you're going to write about and what the topic is all about. So often the writing will take less time than the prep or the editing. So when you're feeling really overwhelmed, sit down, write out for yourself all the elements of the piece, all the elements of the project, get a sense of what it's going to look like for you in terms of a timeline, and creating your calendar. And I talk about this more in the business of being in business module. You know, how do you actually plan your work and get done what you need to get done? So if you can't come up with the lead, start on the body. Sometimes the thing is to just get in there, and then the ideas will start flowing, because you can get paralyzed sitting and thinking about the lead, because you know the lead, it's like trying to ice the cake before you've baked the cake, and it doesn't always work. You need to bake the cake first, and then you can put the icing on, and you can change the icing, you can scrape it off and put something different on if it doesn't work or it isn't the right flavor. So don't worry about where you get in. If you have a great idea for a lead, sometimes the copy just flows from it, but sometimes you don't, and sometimes you'll start writing the body copy and you'll find out that the lead or the headline just emerges. So the most important thing is to just get started, and it goes along with this editing and looking process. It's never going to be perfect right out the gate. You don't need to write the perfect thing. You just need to write. Very often what I'll do is I'll just sit down and I'll write a piece, and I'll leave it overnight, and when I go back, it's very often way better than I thought it was, and I just do it to get started on the project. And I'll go back, and sometimes all it needs is tweaking and polishing, and it's a really, really good piece. But what enables it to be the good piece is I'm not attached to it. I let go of the outcome, and I just get in there and start writing. So that can be a good technique, kind of psyching yourself out. Okay, so start with the headline and the lead, and you want to create your bullets. And the bullets are the 4 to 6 most important key points that are sometimes and very often going to appear as bullets in the copy. And whether or not you incorporate the bullets into the copy as those bullets, what you want to know are, what are the key points? What are you trying to accomplish here? What are the key things that people need to know? And it's kind of like creating a little framework, like a skeleton that you can hang your piece on, so that if you know what the key ideas are, then you can start writing about them. And you can even start writing about them just, free form, just, whatever comes to your mind, and just start getting down ideas based on these bullet points. And what you'll see is a piece starts to emerge. And this is one way in to writing the piece. Sometimes you're going to know exactly what you want, and you're going to have an outline, and then you're just going to go and you're going to write and you're going to edit. But there's all kinds of ways into a piece. And the truth is, you'll find yours. You're going to find that you have sort of a system and a style. But I think it's helpful to know that you can do it any way that you want, that there isn't a right way or a wrong way, and that you'll develop your own technique. I mean, the truth is, as long as you're getting something out the end that works and gets results, then any method is fine. What isn't fine is taking all the time in the world with something, especially if it's a paid project, because if you take forever, then it's very hard to charge the client a fair amount and earn a fair amount, because you can't charge the client for the fact that you're not together and it takes you forever to come up with something. So I find that diving in and just starting and then improving, you'll improve how you write, but you'll also get quicker at it, because you'll be able to observe your process and know where you can improve it. And inside of these 4 to 6 key reasons, you want to bring in the USP. Remember, the copy is going to be driven by, why should I buy from you instead of your competitor? What sets you, or in this case, perhaps your client, apart? What's different? Why should whoever it is that you're writing to, this exact, targeted person that you have, what's in it for them buying from you or getting a service from you rather than somebody else? Why should you be my accountant rather than, Sarah down the street? Well, maybe you do something. Maybe I'm in tax trouble, and you know how to deal with the IRS. Maybe you worked for the IRS. Maybe I own a small business. Maybe I own several small businesses, and I don't know how to negotiate that. And you help small businesses, do what they need to do. We don't do business on the same scale, as IBM. We don't have expense accounts. We're going out for a meal at the Chinese restaurant. We're expensing it because we're talking to somebody about does our copy work, and they're reading it over, and somebody knows how to do that and how to handle your taxes for that. So what is it that you offer or you're writing about for the offer that separates you from the competition? And there's a whole module on USP, sussing out the USP or unique selling proposition, either your own or that of a client. And I'll say it here because it bears repeating. The client doesn't always know what their own unique selling proposition is, either company-wide for their entire business or for a particular product or service. And so that's where you come in with your marketing hat on and help them figure out. And just by asking this very question, why should anyone buy from you instead of your competitor? And then there's all kinds of ways that you can slice and dice that and figure it out based on any number of factors, which I do talk about specifically in the USP module. But that's an important piece that you're always going to be writing to. So you want to create a big promise. What will the person get? What's the big promise? What's the premise that this whole thing hangs on? Let's go back to the automotive example. Say you're selling a muscle car, and maybe the whole premise is how young and virile you're going to feel driving the muscle car, and it's geared toward a baby boomer audience who remembers the muscle cars from the 70s when they were big and they were hot. And so maybe the big promise is reliving your youth. Maybe the big promise is power and speed. Maybe with another car, the big promise is safety. There are cars that whose whole USP is based on safety. Think of Volvo. Think of what's it called? What is the military vehicle called? The Hummer. I mean, their whole USP is really based on something else. But I remember when they first started selling those commercially to civilians, whatever, and I saw a woman in a parking lot with this giant Hummer, and I asked her, I said, "Wow, what? I didn't even know you could buy one of these. How did you end up with this car?" And she was this bright yellow paint job, and she said, "It looks really cool, doesn't it?" And it kind of did look cool. And she brought me over and she opened the back of it, and inside, and these things are these really wide bodies, right? In the inside, she had basically created a padded playroom for her kids. And that's why she bought it. They built a padded playroom in there, and it was like a little just miniature playpen. Well, it wasn't miniature, but it was just, it was bizarre. But that was the selling point for her. You could customize it, and she could build anything she wanted in there, and that's what she had. So her kids could bounce off the walls and be in there, and she could drive around town. And even with them bouncing off the walls, if anyone hit them, you know who would be in trouble, and it wasn't them. So goofy, but it's a USP. So make sure that your body copy stays in touch with the big promise and the headline and the lead. It's often easy to digress and to get away, to drift away from the big promise and what this is all about. And if you do that, you can come back and edit, but it's fluff. A lot of times it doesn't matter. You'll read your copy over and you'll go, how would it read without this paragraph? Or sentence, and you read it aloud, always aloud, without that, and you see, does it make a difference? And very often it makes it better, but it doesn't make a difference in terms of the comprehension. It's still the same. It still has the same. How do I want to say this? Excuse me. It still has the same punch, or even more punch. And it's this whole idea of less is more, and I don't know why I'm having trouble articulating that. But the most important point is to make sure that you have a theme and that you're sticking to it throughout, and that all of your points lead back to the big promise that you're making that this is going to provide. Now, again, this doesn't have to be a whole long treatise. This could be in a simple ad or an editorial or one page of copy. But it has to hang tightly on the frame. It has to have a certain point, and you need to be moving always toward that point. Make sure too that you present the benefits. Always benefits, benefits, benefits. What's in it for them? Remember the benefits of every feature. And there's a whole benefits and feature module, and there's some exercises in your workbook to ascertain benefits and features. What's the benefit of the feature? And you want to make sure that you focus on the benefits. an example from the benefits and features model was steak knives, that they never dull. That's a feature. What's the benefit? You never have to sharpen them. That you might have them for a whole lifetime, and never have to, they cut as nicely, 2 years from now as they did the day you bought them. That's a benefit. The feature is that they never dull. Put benefits into sentences and play with the order of the sentences and the benefits, because sometimes what seems most important first turns out not to be. And if you just create sentences around the benefit and be very descriptive, use active verbs, very important. Like you can say, he walked down the hall. What's another way to say that? He took off down the hall. He ran down the hall like a rocket ship. He tornadoed down the hall. He volcanoed down the hall. Those aren't great words. Those aren't great verbs. But something that's active and creates a picture. You can see I just came up with those off the top of my head. And what I might do if I was writing a piece, I'd write them down. And what it would do when I came back to look at it is I go, oh, okay, a verb that that creates the image of fast motion. I may come back and said something, he went down the hall like a steam locomotive. Powerful, can't stop him. So, that's okay, because what I do is I lock in my mind this idea of energy and movement, and when I come back I can improve it. So things like that. So you always want to make sure your verbs are really active and really descriptive. Don't go with the first one that you came up with, or put a list of them. Put a list of them down in the copy and go back and go, this one no, this one yes. You'll know as soon as you go back which one works best. Okay. So let's deal with a little bit of an example here, something that you can play with. And I made this up, but you'll get the idea. So let's talk about a hair growth product for men. So what do men who are balding fear? They fear that they're less attractive than men with hair. They think they're going to get less sex. Now, you can't always talk about sex directly, and you'll see that's what put romance with an exclamation point, because it's often referred to as romance. They mean sex, but it's toned down. Nobody wants to promise anyone more sex. So, well, maybe somebody does, but not in an ad. So, a perceived loss of virility. They just don't feel as virile and as powerful as a man with a full head of hair. So they lose their confidence, and it also is an indication often of aging. Some men bald young, but often they start balding, and it's at a time when you're in the proverbial midlife crisis, and everything's up in the air. There's a lot of things that go on, and they start to be concerned, maybe for the first time, about aging. And so there's a lot of things to fear with hair loss. So what's the most compelling of these factors? So again, if you go back to what we talked about in the beginning, who is your target audience? I just mentioned a couple of segments. Could be men who bald prematurely. And it could be middle-aged men. It could be men that bald in their 60s or 70s. So you might have a different demographic, and you might not. You might just be dealing with men who go bald. But what's the most compelling of the factors for the target audience? Or is there a factor perhaps that the product you're writing about addresses that brings one of those factors up to the top of the list? And so you write a headline to grab their attention using their key fears. And I just came up with a couple of these really quickly. Restore your hair and your confidence. A thick head of hair equals more romance. Again, equals more sex, but we're using romance, but everyone knows what that means. Restore your hair in only 4 weeks. What does that say? It's quick and easy. Someone's been thinking about it, and it's going to be a whole long involved process. Oh, I can just do this in 4 weeks. Wow, I could be different quick, and we all know quick sells. People like quick. So these are some quick headlines. Ask you in the workbook. You'll see all throughout this hair growth exercise to come up with some of these on your own, and some body copy too. So take any of these and now write some body copy. And you can think of body copy. You can imagine you're writing for a sales letter, a web page. You can be writing an ad. I don't really care but you choose. Decide what it is you're writing, and then go ahead and write some body copy. So I chose one of the headlines here. Restore your hair and your confidence. And so the and is capitalized. In the last slide you saw it was bold, because and is the important bridge here. because when you restore your hair, then what we're saying here is you will then be more confident. And so what are some of the bullets that you have to come up with for the body copy? So you feel less virile. Maybe we'd use the word manly. Maybe neither of those are good words for this, but it's the concept that you feel like less of a man. You don't feel quite as powerful and empowered. You're concerned about how people perceive you differently than they did before. You know, when you had a full head of hair, you know, you were strutting and feeling really good. You were the man, and now it's like, ooh, you know, you're like the 90-pound weakling. Not necessarily true. We know that, but these are some of the fears that they feel, and so we want to tap into what they're feeling. They feel less confident, they feel less attractive. So they feel less. And what happens, we know, when you feel less than, you know, there's a whole big picture of just not feeling good about yourself, and that's never good. So use the examples in the workbook. I don't want to give you too much here because I really don't want to lead you down the path. I want you to take this idea and take a short paragraph and expand it into a letter or into web page copy. And, you know, Google around. If you don't have any ideas about this or you haven't thought about it before, Google around. See what other, what are some hair loss products saying. And, you know, it's interesting. You'll see as you start to do that, you'll find some people really work on the features and the benefits, and they write really good copy. And some of it's totally misguided. It doesn't tap into anything. They start, you know, you can go to their homepage and they'll start talking about, you know, all the scientific discoveries and the this and the that, and it's like, you know, yeah, we want to know there's science behind it, and we want to know it works, but I don't really care about the XY2 combined in the test tube with the, you know, the laser follicles from, you know, the giraffe that, you know, created this new discovery in the Amazon rainforest. I mean, that's all good. Once I'm interested, I may want to dig deep and go, where did this come from and who invented it? But in the beginning, what I want to know when I land on that web page is I am in the right place for me. This is for, I'm a guy who feels less confident. My hair's going away. I'm embarrassed. I don't even want anyone to know I'm at this website. Give me a quick fix. So I need to know that I landed there. And reading about the science ain't going to give me the message. So you get the idea. So you must get them to feel the pain enough so that they're motivated to do something about it. And what I mean by that, and I said this earlier, is, you know, we're not trying to manipulate anybody. We're not trying to create fear. But if they're feeling something deep down inside, and this is, you know, particularly true for a website, and I talk about this in writing web copy, you know, if they're on a website and they're looking for something, then they are actively in the mood to do something about the problem. So what you can do on the web is you can really hammer those points home. And you can do it in direct mail too, but you may or may not hit them, you know, when they're really looking. But on the web, that's the great thing about writing for the web is, you know, you've got this, or having a business, you know, having your business sell products on the web, is you've got people who are there for a reason. They have come looking for you. So they are motivated in that moment to do something about it. But you also know on the web you've got 3 to 5 seconds to grab them by their self-interest. And so you've got to have a really powerful headline and a really short, tight lead that says, you are in the right place. This is exactly what you need. So let's talk a little bit more specifically now about some of the features and benefits here. The features of a hair growth product, we're calling it Hair Grow for Men. How do you like that for a clever name? Is it grows hair, it's easy to use, it's not messy, and it's a revolutionary technology. So what do you think some of the benefits of these features might be? Now, of course, I've made up the products, I've made up the features and the benefits. Benefits of these features might be more confidence, and what else? I'm leaving that to you. It's not time consuming, you know, easy to use, we said. So it can work with your busy life. Not a lot of screwing around with formulas, so you'll actually use it. And you're cutting edge and cool. So let's just flip back here for a second and look at what these are. Grows hair, easy to use, not messy, revolutionary technology. So grows hair gives you more confidence and what? Virility, more romance. Again, going back to what we talked about earlier. Easy to use, not time consuming, and can work with your busy life. People don't want to be, putting on gloves and working with messy formulas and having to, do something that, maybe it's something they want to do in private. They don't want anybody else to know that they're using it. Not messy. Easy to use, not messy. So it's not screwing around with a lot of formulas. It's not time consuming. So you're actually going to use it. Everyone's had the experience of buying stuff and then they got it and it seemed too complicated, or it was smelly, or it was messy, or and then what happens is if it's smelly and it's messy and you have to apply it, and if it doesn't work right away, it's like, this gets old and I don't like it, and it goes in the cabinet and you never get the results. Revolutionary technology, you're actually cutting edge and cool. And so maybe this is some kind of some kind of a pill you take and a comb you use. So, there's no liquid, there's no gloves, there's no smell. So you'll suss out what these features and benefits are, and then you're going to write to them, and so these benefits work really well, I think, when you take them and think of them as your bullet list, and then you describe them. And so not time consuming, so that, not a lot of screwing around with formulas, so that you'll actually use it. Not time consuming, so it can work no matter how busy you are, you'll find time to do it. So spell it out. Does this so that you can, so that it's crystal clear to them what it's going to do for them. Benefits, benefits, benefits. Always benefits. So what do you do here? You lay out the negative, your body copy, your lead. It paints a picture of the fear and disappointment. What it's been like, what your life has been like since you've been balding, and you find yourself not as attractive, you're lacking in confidence, all of the things that might impact. And then you lay out the positive and the removal of fear and anxiety. Now you paint a picture of what it will look like. You're going to feel confident, you're going to stand up straighter, you're going to go out more, you're going to meet more people / women, you're going to have more romance. Life is going to get big and exciting, and you're going to describe that in no uncertain terms. Now, you have to be careful here, and this may be obvious, but you can't paint such a big picture that everyone goes, yeah, right, whatever, this isn't true. But you're tapping into the human emotion here. We're not talking about, suddenly, you're going to be rich and famous, but what we're saying is you're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to have more confidence. The things you do every day, you're going to do with a little more spring in your step. Your mate is going to notice how different you feel, or you're going to get more dates if you don't have a partner. Whatever it is, you're tapping into the human emotion and their need. And sometimes it's really simple. And, we've all experienced a lack of confidence at one time or another. So put yourself in those shoes. What does it feel like? And draw out the worst pieces of that, elaborate on them, and then talk about what the fix is like and how that feels. Because that's the feeling part is where you hook them in. Remember, we said you got to get them in the lead. The headline says, I'm in the right place. The lead says, they get me. They understand me. These are my problems. So if you understand my problems, then it's very likely that your solution is real. It creates believability and credibility. I can say that. I really can. So you then come in to provide the solution. So the copy equivalent of riding in on the white horse. So here's all these things. You don't feel confident. You feel cruddy about yourself, you don't go out as much, you're not getting dates, you don't feel quite as virile and powerful, and you don't stand up as tall. But Hair Grow for Men changes that, and it can change it in 4 weeks. And here's how now you tell them a little bit, this is where you tell them how Hair Grow for Men works and why. But again, you do it tapping into what's in it for them. Going off here about, XYZ technology and the rainforest discovery, that might be something that you either put deeper in the copy, or if you're this is what I love about the web, you can bury that in a link. Discovered in the rainforest by Dr. Amrit Pakidrab, XYZ formula, and now they can click on it. If they want to read about Dr. who discovered it, they want to read about the formula itself, they can click and they can go out to another page. So you're going to provide a solution, and then you're going to offer proof. I'll talk in a minute about different ways that you can offer proof. And then you remove the obstacles to buy. And so your close, finally, so you've done all this. You've brought them in with the headline. you've written body copy or the lead that tells them exactly what their problem is so that they identify. You've now told them what the solution is and how great it's going to be. You've offered proof. Now you have to get them to take action. So what happens is, and you know this has happened to you, it all sounds great and you think it could really work, and then you get down, it's like, ooh, do I want to spend $50? Do I want to spend $500? Do I want to spend $2,000? If the idea is compelling enough and your problem is deep enough, the money is not going to be the issue. But you do need to remove the risk and remove the obstacles to buy. And the higher the price point, the more risk you have to remove. It's much easier for someone to spend $50 without having to justify it a whole lot than it is to spend $2,000. So providing proof. Lots of ways you can do that. Testimonials are great. In some markets you can't use testimonials, like in financial markets, for example. In many markets you can, and so, and you've seen it, the before and after pictures. Here's Joe Smith before, he used Hair Growth for Men, and here he is after. And, of course, in the other picture he looks kind of dull and gray, and then the second picture he's got a tan and a full head of hair and a great set of teeth. But, testimonials, and the testimonials, if they can, you should ask Joe Smith, what it really did for him. I used to feel, shy and uncomfortable when I first started to bald, but since I've used Hair Growth for Men, I feel really, really confident and powerful, and the women think so too. Whatever that you can get, that's real, mind you, that taps into the relieving their fear. Because remember, that's what it's all about. Pictures are great, stories are great. Stories tell, facts sell. The more you can use stories, and you can use them in your copy as well. Here's what happened to Joe Smith. So it doesn't have to be a testimonial that this happened to me and signed Joe Smith. Joe Smith reports. And as long as it's true, and as long as Joe Smith has told you that it's okay to quote him or paraphrase him. Audio is great. Video is even greater. So, and by the way, the video doesn't have to be a video testimonial of Joe Smith saying what happened to him. It can be someone from the company saying, hey, listen, this is why we developed this. The owner of the company that experienced this, or my brother-in-law was so desperate he wouldn't leave the house. A little extreme, but something like that. And so I decided, I was going to search high and low for a cure that wasn't messy and time-consuming, and that you'd stick in the medicine chest and never use. I wanted something for real men that they would really use, that would get real results, so you could feel great about yourself again. And people watch it. Video is compelling, as you know. People watch video. So and thinking of yourself in terms of the freelance copywriter now with that hat on, this also creates more work for you, and is it's very valid to say to a client, hey, listen, we're putting together this web page. Have you thought about using audio or video? And I can create that for you. I can help make that happen. And turns it not only does it benefit them, but it turns into a bigger job for you. So you're not suggesting stuff so that you make more money, but you're suggesting stuff so that they make more money, and you do as well. Audio can work well too. Little audio clip. Especially if you have audio clips in different voices, and then people know that they're hearing, oh, this is Joe Smith in Pasadena, and this is what happened for me. Oh, this is Bob Burns in Boston. So audio can still work really well. You don't see it as much, but it's still a really viable medium. And for you as the copywriter, what you'll find, and this can be really, really helpful for your clients, and if you're a business owner, this is true too. When somebody tells you a great story, right then in that moment, you ask them if you can use it. So if someone writes you a letter, sends you an email, gives you a phone call, and it's Bob Smith on the phone, and he says, "Oh man, I can't believe it! This is the best product. I've tried 50 of these hair growth products, and this one finally worked. And last night I went out for the first time, and I met this woman, and I was confident to go approach her." Whatever they say, Bob, that's fabulous. I'm so glad you love the product. Could we use your story? And Bob will say, yeah. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write down what you said, and I'm going to send it over to you for you to sign off on. Get these things and encourage your clients to get these things in the moment. And if they don't have them and you're writing something, ask them, do they have a list of people that have called them or emailed them? And then you get back in touch with those people. And never ask them to write it. Say, hey, can I write that up and have you sign off on it? Because people are afraid to write, which is good for you. More work for you. Or they don't get to it. So very important to gather these in the moment and gather every one of them that you can, because testimonials are golden. They're like currency you can trade on the marketplace. Okay, now that we've covered providing proof, let's move on to talking about removing obstacles. This is a fairly large topic in and of itself, but here's what happens, and you've experienced this yourself. You get to the end of the sales letter, the web page, and you think this might be pretty good. You think this might work for you. You think this might be what you're looking for, but the buyer's remorse doesn't quite kick in yet, literally, because that's till after you buy the product. But a form of buyer's remorse kicks in before you buy the product, where you start thinking of what you stand to lose by buying it. What if it doesn't work? What if this isn't really the solution? What if I'm just throwing good money after bad because I've already bought things to fix this problem? What if this isn't it? But what if it is? And that's what you want to create in their mind, that what if it is possibility. So there's a number of ways to do that. The guarantee is one, and you've seen all kinds of guarantees, and there are different kinds of guarantees you can use for different products. One of the most compelling guarantees is a money-back guarantee. Try it for 30 days. If you're not completely satisfied, return it for your full money back. That's a good guarantee because it removes all risk. I know that if I don't like it, you'll take it back. If it's a good enough product, stand behind it. If you know people are going to love it, stand behind it. The truth is, most people will not return things just because of sheer inertia. Or they've lost where it said that they had a guarantee, and so then they justify not sending it back, and they figure, oh well, what the heck, I've spent $50 before. The whole litany of excuses goes through their mind. But you can remove those on the front end by offering them a really solid guarantee. And ideally, you're selling something that really does work and is going to get results and they're going to love, and that's not an issue. If you're selling crap, you can't guarantee it. You shouldn't be selling crap anyway. Personal opinion, editorial. Let's move on. You can offer people a trial period. It's a bit weaker than a full money back guarantee, only because the full money back guarantee really builds trust. What it says to the prospect, in addition to this is a good product, is you really believe in it. You stand fully behind it. It also implies that they're going to get good customer service, and you can tell them that straight up in the guarantee. We'll take it back, no questions asked. All you have to do is call. You can reach us and speak to a live, member of our company, person at our company, between 9 to 5 in this time zone these days. It builds trust. It's like, there are real people here that stand behind what they offer. The trial period is a little iffier because people think that, it brings up a lot of what ifs for people. What if I don't like it? How are they going to bill me? What's going to happen? They don't really want to try it. They really want to buy it. And so you need to give them the opportunity to do that. You see that a lot with magazine offers. It works really well. Send this card back and try it. If you don't like it, just write "don't bill me" on the return card. That's actually becoming less effective for magazines, but that's a whole other piece that has to do with what's happening in the magazine and the print world in general. But it's not as solid an offer as the absolute guarantee. No money down is risky. It's risky for the seller. It's less risky with information products because you've already created it. It's not like you're sending something, some physical product that costs you money to create. Obviously, your information money costs money to create, but once it's created, it can be sold multiple times. It's the same piece of information. The thing is, people aren't as serious when they don't have any skin in the game. Even a buck, try it for a buck. This works great with membership opportunities, and you've seen this before, a membership site where they say, hey, try us out for a buck, or try us for $5 or $9 or $7, whatever it is. And you have to enter your credit card knowing that you're going to be billed the next month. But what you do in that case is you build up so many benefits that the person says, I don't believe this. You can't be giving me all of this for $19.95 a month. But hey, for a buck, I'll go in and see. And if it's for real, yeah, I'll pay $19.95 a month. But it eliminates the barrier of entry. And so, an introductory price like that, or a free trial or a low price trial, can be really, really effective. A liberal return policy. is like a guarantee, but you don't quite guarantee the product. You're not saying, get this will happen or else. If you're not happy, we'll take the product back. And then a sample is, a chance to sell somebody. If you've got a sample of your product, a little bit, and this can work for electronic products as well as physical products. Obviously, physical products have to be packaged in sample sizes and so on. But if you get a sample, literally, physically, if you can get someone to accept a sample into their home, then now you've got something that they're touching, they're tasting, they're feeling, and it's in their house. Once you've crossed the threshold into their house, you can really gain a lot of traction. And of course, that sample comes with sales material, telling them how they can get more of this, maybe even offers them a special introductory price for having taken the sample and having agreed to try the product and let the company cross the threshold into their house. Of course, you don't word it like that, but since you were willing to take a chance with us, since you were open enough to see how XYZ product will work, we'd like to get you to try the 32-ounce size, and so here's $5 off. Order by midnight on the 31st, and shipping is free. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to compel people, create a sense of urgency. I'm going to talk more about this in a later module, and particularly when we talk, there's a whole module on orders and placing orders and order forms that traditionally go with direct mail pieces, with print pieces. But there's ways that you can use that on the web too, and that's a really common one. You've seen it. Order by the 31st and you'll get these bonuses. Order after the 31st and you won't get them. Order by the 31st and save $100 and get all these bonuses valued at XYZ. And very often they are valued. They are valued at the price that's mentioned, and they're really valuable things, particularly in information marketing. It's easy for a company and for your client or for you to give away intellectual property that you've created before it's sitting there. It will add value to the proposition you're making to the client or to the prospect. Gives real value to them. It doesn't cost you anything. You reach into your archives and you give them some really, really valuable material, but you're using it as an incentive for a decision. So lots to this closing and ordering business, and like I said, there's a whole module devoted to that just for that reason. So why guarantees are important? They build trust, they build credibility, they help remove the prospect's obstacles in their own mind to buying. They need to rationalize their purchase. They need to be able to say, well, geez, I'm going to spend $50 and I don't know that I should. And it's not whether they have $50 disposable or not. That's not what it is. It's not, I shouldn't spend this $50 because I won't be able to eat dinner tomorrow. It's, do I really need this product? Is it going to be $50 well spent or not? And so they need to rationalize the purchase, and you can help them do that by saying, yes, in fact, this will work, and if it doesn't work, you can get your money back. I'm going to talk in a moment here about the PS and how you can use the PS to really get rid of their own mental obstacles. And you build trust all through the copy so that they really believe what you're saying is true, as well it should be. So what happens when you remove the fear by offering a guarantee, for example, what happens is now the transaction enters the realm of agreement as opposed to a sale. So you're agreeing that the client is, or prospect, is agreeing that they will try this product, and you're agreeing that if they don't like it, they can return it. And so they're really not out anything in their mind. Chances are good that they will get it, and they'll use it, and they'll like it, and they'll keep it, and now you've got a new client that's used the product that you can market to continuously. The first sale is the hardest sale, right? People who have bought from you before are much more likely to buy from you again. That's just a fact. And so that's why you see loss leaders all the time, companies that are willing to sell you products even at below cost, because once you buy something from them once, you'll be willing to buy again. And there's some marketing plans built on that are pretty fascinating, and some of them are even a little frightening. I just read a very in-depth article about Target, and there's some of their demographic marketing and what they're able to do and how they're able to market to people based on buying habits that they have. They can anticipate life events, and with big box stores like that, or big brands, detergent brands, things like that, they're looking to get a brand buy-in at a very young age from the consumer, because those brand buy-ins for most people stay for life. And so there's a lot of really interesting information, interesting things that go on. You don't need to worry about that, but you need to be aware of it and know what's going on. And your biggest job here is to dispel their negative feelings and their fear that crop up now around buying the product. So what negative feelings could come up from, let's use the hair growth example. This won't work. I don't know. I've tried stuff before. This won't work. Nothing works. You know, we've told them that women will be more attracted to men with a full head of hair, and they're thinking to themselves, yeah, right, whatever. That's not going to work. That's not going to happen for me, you know. And then they start berating themselves and thinking of all the other reasons that women won't be interested, that hair can't fix. You know, I can't spend money on this. What if it doesn't work? Do they offer a money-back guarantee? What's the ultimate satisfaction that they're telling me that I'm going to get? And so when you do these things, you build big trust. And that's what you want to do. You want to get rid of all of these potential negative feelings by saying, hey, you know, we know that you're thinking that. But here's what, and you can literally say that, and you might in some pieces, or you might say it by spelling out what you're going to do for them, eliminating fears that you know already that they have. So let's talk about the PS. The PS is a powerful, powerful part of any offer. And you see these on the web, you see them in print media. The PS is often read first. So here's what people do. They open a piece, or they open a web page and they read the headline, they read the lead, and then what do? You scroll to the bottom, or you go to the back of the letter. Oh, what does it say? And you see how it ends. And so you do well to create your entire story. And I talk about this in other modules. Your headline and then your subheads and your PS should tell the whole story, and then the rest fills in the detail. Because what happens? They read the headline, they scan through the subheads. Does this speak to me? They got me, they got me, they got me. Ooh, this is me. Ooh, this is me. They look at the PS or the bottom, and often what they're looking to see is what's this going to cost. Because now we know, okay, it's a hair growth product. You know, the price is usually at the end. Okay, you know, it's $50. You know, let me read the rest of it because I can afford $50. So they see it's $50,000, and it's like, wow, I can't afford $50,000, but they might read it anyway because they're going, what could possibly cost that? And who knows? By the end of it, they may be thinking it's the best, you know, best money they've spent in their life. But in the PS, then you can reinforce the guarantee and you can reinforce the benefits. You know, PS, don't forget that hair grow will make you feel stronger, more virile. Will make you more attractive, and you can put your fears about lack of confidence to bed. Try 1 month of Hair Grow Plus for only $49.95, and if for some reason you hate it, Mr. Smith, you can get your money back. You know, there may be fine print about, you know, return the product to us. It may not be that. It may be that that's included in the product. It depends. Again, different industries are regulated differently in terms of what you offer, and you'll have to, you know, find that out for yourself or for your client before you write the copy. But you restate the benefit, and then you state your guarantee right in the PS, so they have the whole story there. And then you can use a PPS to cement credibility. You know, remember, you know, Joe Smith didn't think that this would work for him, but boy, you know, after 4 weeks, he said I had 30% more hair and 2 dates, or whatever it is. So something that affirms the credibility. Now, if they're reading it first, it's affirming it. And then they're going, wow, I want to read this. What, Joe Smith got 2 dates and he had hair in 2 weeks? Now they want to read it. And so you're using your PS kind of like a secondary or even a primary headline. But it's very important that it contains the benefits and the guarantee so that they know just what they're going to be getting. And finally, your job is to make a really compelling case. Your job is to make their mouth water, to make them salivate and want the product. And again, you know, this is not about manipulation. This is about painting a picture and telling a story for something that has genuine value and really will help someone. And if you're in a business and you have a product that you're selling and you don't think it genuinely helps someone, get out of the business. If you're writing for a client and you think their entire proposition is bogus, don't write it. You know, it won't mean it won't get written, but you certainly don't have to do it. Good products should truly solve problems. And people have a challenge with sales. I've run into this for years and years and years. When you say something is sales or somebody's trying to, you know, sell you something, people get all uptight. But, you know, all sales is about solving problems. It's about painting a picture so that people see your vision and they understand it and they see what this will do for them, what's in it for them. It's enlightening them and educating them. And as long as there's really true value and you really believe, that you're the CPA that can, give them the best tax advantage and help them manage their business so they don't get in trouble with the IRS, scream it from the rooftops. Or you as the copywriter, you scream it from the rooftops for your clients. So someone reads that and goes, wow, I want her as my CPA. I want her representing me. I bet I would have saved thousands of dollars last year in my own pocket. I could have taken a trip to Hawaii, whatever it is. Be genuine, be real, but scream it from the rooftops. Tell them in no uncertain terms what this is going to do for them. That's your job. So as long as it provides real benefit, you can feel really good about what you're doing. There's a brief additional piece after this, Copywriting Fundamentals 2. I didn't want you to have too much to absorb in one module, but I'm just going to go briefly into what you do once the piece is written. I'll see you on the other side.